"Open this door right now, or we will break it down." The shout ripped through the stillness of midnight like a gunshot. Two patrol cars squatted on Arthur Vance's front lawn, engines idling, red and blue lights, bleeding across his rose bushes, as if the ground itself were under arrest. The old wooden fence, weathered but unbroken, stood at the center of it all. Behind the cruisers, the HOA president's voice cut sharp and impatient. "Just tear the fence down already." She was certain she had finally cornered him. A wooden gate, a technical violation, midnight pressure. What she didn't understand was this. Arthur Vance did not panic when the police arrived. He simply glanced at his watch. Most men fear flashing lights. Arthur knew exactly what they meant. He stood behind lace curtains, motionless, his silhouette rigid as the oak trees surrounding his land. One step across his threshold without authority wouldn't just be a mistake. It would end careers. Welcome back to Echo Stories, because what happens when that door opens will permanently change this neighborhood. The digital clock inside the lead cruiser flickered, 21 hours. Tires crushed grass. Emergency lights flooded Arthur's darkened living room. Outside, engines hummed low, vibrating with tension. Linda, the HOA president, stood between the cruisers, clutching her clipboard like a weapon, eyes locked on the fence. Earlier that afternoon, she had spent 3 hours on the phone with a county environmental contact. No paperwork, just a verbal assurance she planned to weaponize if the officers hesitated. She didn't just want the fence gone, she wanted the man behind it to submit. The rookie officer didn't wait. Fresh from the academy, still stiff in his uniform, he marched up the porch and slammed his fist against the oak door harder than necessary. In his other hand, a smartphone recorded everything. Then he froze. On the screen was not an elderly homeowner. It was a live video feed. A silver-haired man stared back, expression carved by decades of rulings, eyes cold with authority earned, not claimed. Sergeant Miller took one look and felt his stomach drop. He knew that face. 30 years on the bench, the county's Chief Justice. "Sergeant Miller," the voice echoed calmly across the porch, amplified by the silence of the street. "I was under the impression your department required a signed warrant before conducting an aggressive property seizure after dark." Color drained from Miller's face. In one heartbeat, he understood the disaster he had walked into by trusting the HOA president's assurances. The man on that screen could erase pensions with a single phone call. The rookie stepped back instinctively, his hand falling away from his belt. Linda, however, was oblivious. She stormed toward the porch, heels snapping against stone. "Miller, what are you doing?" she shrieked. "The bylaws are clear. I have an emergency order for this drainage obstruction." She jabbed a finger at Arthur's phone. "I don't care who you're talking to. This is an HOA matter, not a courtroom drama." The judge said nothing. That silence was far more terrifying than any raised voice. Finally, Sergeant Miller grabbed the rookie by the shoulder. "We're leaving," he muttered, eyes down. The cruisers reversed so fast, gravel sprayed into the street. Within seconds, the sirens vanished. Linda stood alone, crushing her clipboard until it bent. "You think a judge protects you?" she hissed. "He can guard your door, but not county code." She spun on her heel and drove away. Arthur remained on the porch, phone glowing softly. The judge gave a single nod before disconnecting. Arthur stared at the fence. Something wasn't right. Morning arrived, wearing calm like a disguise. At 8:30 a.m., a diesel engine rolled down the street. Arthur carried a tray of Earl Grey to the porch just as Linda returned, this time with reinforcements. 2 workers in orange vests, and a man in a tailored suit who looked like paperwork had never failed him before. Linda raised a neon yellow document and read loudly so every neighbor could hear. Arthur poured tea slowly. "Leo," he said gently to his grandson, "bring chairs. If this becomes a performance, the audience should be comfortable." Neighbors gathered. Linda shoved the paper forward. "County Emergency Abatement Order." Arthur studied it without touching it, then smiled. "Amazing," he said calmly. "The county misspelled its own director's name." He pointed out another error. Then another. "No embossed seal," he added. "Only a digital copy." He handed it back. "This is junk." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Linda snapped. "I don't care." "Tear it down!" Chains unrolled. The winch screamed. Arthur sat back down. "Patience," he whispered to Leo. The fence held. The man in the suit, Marcus, stepped forward. desperation leaking through his confidence. He offered money, property, a penthouse. A deal? He pleaded. Arthur declined. You're chasing shortcuts, Arthur said quietly. But this land doesn't forgive shortcuts. Marcus signaled the excavator. Arthur returned, not with panic, but with a metal detector. It screamed. 1 meter down, the spade struck metal, a brass disc embedded in reinforced concrete. A federal survey marker. Sergeant Miller, now pale, stared into the hole. Federal point, he whispered. The excavator shut down instantly. Linda screamed. Arthur's voice stayed calm. Federal law. 5 years in prison. Marcus panicked, scrambling through digital maps. Arthur unrolled vellum blueprints. Signed, dated, his own. You altered the city database, Arthur said softly. Sirens returned. This time, federal. Marcus was arrested. Linda was stripped of authority. The neighborhood exhaled. 30 days later, the fence stood rebuilt, brighter than before. Neighbors painted together. Leo asked quietly. Was it the ground that stopped them? Arthur smiled. The ground doesn't choose sides, he said. It only obeys laws. The fence gleamed white. Some boundaries stand because they must. Some truths cannot be moved. Justice is rarely loud, but it always lasts. If this story held you till the end, don't forget to watch, share, like, and subscribe for more powerful stories where justice always finds its way.